Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria Evans. I'm a science-based intuitive eating specialist helping you stop food fear, food guilt, and self-sabotage so you can eat effortlessly and feel amazing. So in this video today, I'm going to be talking about how to fully recover from an eating disorder. Now, I am someone myself who did fully recover, and I want to share with you that yes, it's possible, but also how I did it and what full recovery actually is. But before I dig into that, I wanted to ask you to please like and subscribe. I truly, really appreciate that support, as well as comment below what type of video you'd like to see next. All right, let's dig into it. So the first thing is, what does it mean to be fully recovered? Well, to be fully recovered, an individual must have absolutely no eating disorder symptoms. In addition to that, they need to have accepted their body, right, their natural size and shape, and no longer be engaging in any type of behaviors, whether it be food or body, that can be considered self-destructive. So instead, this person has a healthy perspective on approach to eating, their weight, their body image, and other issues. So full recovery is basically kind of like the ultimate goal of anyone who has an eating disorder, right? Because they're completely free from behaviors and it's no longer impacting their life in any way. Now, I can honestly say, as someone who is fully recovered, I never thought it would be possible. I never thought I'd be in a place where I wasn't worried and stressed about food and constantly obsessed with how I looked and worried about shrinking myself all of the time. It took up so much mental real estate, so much time and energy and money. And I never thought I was truly going to be free from that voice inside my head that constantly demanded that I was smaller and would just, shrink myself so that I'd be more lovable and worthy. So if you are a person who is struggling in your recovery, has an eating disorder, and you're wanting to become fully recovered, just know that that voice that is telling you to shrink yourself, that you are not worthy, that you are not good enough, that is not the real you. That is not the you that you can become. And your life is so much more than just trying to shrink yourself. You are so much more than a body. So with that, my first tip for you when it comes to becoming fully recovered is accepting your body won't be easy. I think there's this kind of weird thinking that once I decide to move into recovery, it'll be tough, but it won't be that hard to accept my body. It's hard. It is hard to accept whatever your body is going to look like. And one of the reasons that it's so hard, that is so important that you know, so I coach from a very science-based perspective, and that is understanding oxytocin. So oxytocin is the neurotransmitter that has to do with bonding and love and connection. And I won't go into all the other things it does for the purpose of this video, but understanding that your brain is wired to want to fit in. Your brain is wired to want to conform because thousands of years ago, when we were living in tribes and unsafe environments, right, we had to have this strong desire to conform and fit in, because if we got kicked out, if we were off on our own, no longer in the tribe, we could potentially die. Right? We didn't have the protection of the group around us, whether it be for food or protection from animals or other tribes or whatever it is. So your brain is wired to want to fit in and to assimilate. And so in our environment, in our lives, in our society, we are constantly bombarded with these images of body and looking a certain way and smiling pictures of people who've lost weight on magazines. And we develop this heuristic, which is like a shortcut for your brain, that to be loved and worthy and valuable, I need to look a certain way. I need to shrink my body. But basically, your brain is treating this as some kind of life and death situation because it thinks if I don't look like the person on this magazine, then I gain a bunch of weight and then I die alone, right? It kind of spirals and gets to the die alone, which sounds dramatic, right? But because our brain has not evolved to understand as a 21st century, it thinks if it doesn't conform to the tribe, aka social media, magazines, television, whatever, the people on there, if we don't see ourselves represented on there and we feel different and we're worried about our weight changing, our brain is going to spiral thinking that this is actually some kind of a life-threatening situation. We're going to get kicked out of the tribe and we're going to die. So the first is understanding you're basically being sold out by your brain's desire to fit in because it thinks it needs to for survival. And so we are hyper focused and obsessed with our body size, thinking that is the solution to happiness. That is the solution for us essentially staying in the tribe. Now, a lot of this is happening subconsciously. We're not even aware of it. But, being aware that oxytocin, your desire to fit in and conform, is not truly coming from you. It's coming from your biology, and it's outdated. It's operating as if it's truly living in dangerous times. So with that, accepting your body won't be easy. That has to do with oxytocin. And being honest, like I cried when I kind of recognized that I probably would no longer have abs. Sounds kind of strange, but I basically had attributed my self-worth and who I was to my body. I thought my worth didn't extend beyond that. I thought I was basically just like a walking set of abs that people would compliment me on. And so when I was letting go of that, when I was realizing that having abs for a woman is actually very dangerous, having that body weight, low body weight, it's not good for your hormones. I'd lost my period, my hair was falling out, I was an absolute mess as a person. Everything in my life was really just going wrong. And, I had attributed who I was as a person to my body. And so as I've started to go through recovery and become fully recovered, I realized that I'm so much more than that. I started to crowd out my life with more things that made me realize that I am not just a body. But when you're struggling in an eating disorder, because you become hyper-focused on your body and what you look like, and you let go of all the other things in your life that remind you of who you are, of course your body's the only thing that matters, because that's the only thing left in your life that you've not pushed away. So all this to say, this kind of first tip here is that accepting your body won't be easy, but it will be worth it. So, and building on that as well, is like, what is the cost of it? Like, what is the cost of making your body your worth and making that about, this is your only reason for existing in this world is looking a certain way? How sad is that? You are worth so much more than a body, and I freaking hate our capitalistic, patriarchal society that has made you and sold you to believe that that is your worth, because that is a freaking lie. All right, and my second tip is that recovery won't be linear. So it's gonna be ups and downs. You're not gonna just decide one day, okay, I'm recovered. That's amazing, and if that is you, incredible. I want to speak to you and do an interview and learn, how you're such a unicorn. But the reality is, it's going to be ups and downs. Not every single day is going to go the way you want to. So don't get discouraged, because this is part of the process, right? Those moments that we have resorted back to old behaviors, it's not time for us to shame ourselves. That just perpetuates the problem. Eating disorders thrive in shame and secrecy. So in the moments that we have, gone back to behaviors that are eating disorder behaviors, that's an opportunity for us to get curious and compassionate. What happened there? What went on there? Be a little bit of a detective and figure out with compassion and curiosity, so that moving forward, in the same type of situation, you're feeling the same way, you can better support and prepare for that situation. But so often I see people who, they had a relapse moment, maybe they purged again, and instead of just being like, yep, that happened, okay, like what went on there? Didn't eat enough today, ate a whole lot more than I wanted to in the evening because I hadn't gotten enough, energy into my body. That created a binge, then I panicked, and then I purged, right? So like, how can I look at that, not from a what is wrong with me, but how can I better support myself for next time? And as well, so often when it's not going to be linear, it can shorten the relapse time. So if you're thinking, if you've been going through recovery and it's been, X amount of time, 3 months since you've had any behaviors, whatever, and then it happens again, we can get into that perfectionist mindset of, oh, I can't believe it. I am back to where I started, this kind of black and white, all or nothing. What is wrong with me? Well, I might as well kind of use this relapse to engage in these behaviors before I get kind of back on track in recovery, right? That is perfectionism. That is all or nothing. That is what has got you into this kind of eating disorder behaviors in the first place. I talk a lot about that in my coaching. If you're curious to learn more about it, pop into the link below in the description, because I would love to help support you through this. But basically, understanding recovery won't be linear. Don't beat yourself up if you engage in some behaviors. Come at it from compassion, understanding, so you can better support yourself for next time. My third bit of advice for you is to equip yourself with lots and lots and lots of tools, right? So in my work, I give so many tools to my clients because I'm aware that in those moments, binging or purging or restricting food or whatever that behavior is feels like the only option, because we've not primed our brain to have other tools available to us. So for example, A tool that I do with my clients is days winning. So instead of, again, having that kind of perfectionist all or nothing mindset with our eating, when it comes to, maybe I've had 2 months of no purging. So that would be maybe 60 days winning, right? But if I purged on day 61, what it would have been, right? Instead of telling myself, now I'm back to zero, right? Then I'm actually going to make that, I'm just going to stay at day 60, essentially. Hope this is making sense. I'm going to stay at day 60, and the next time I have a day of free behaviors will be day 61. So simple tools like that. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, send me a message on Instagram at Victoria Evans Official, and I will explain it to you and walk you through the whole thing. But understanding a tool like that, for example, days winning, breaks you out of that kind of all or nothing mindset and allows you to start to move through recovery with more compassion and understanding, as well as celebrating all the days that you've had winning of no behaviors, right? So I'll just recap that again in case that was a little bit unclear. So each day that you don't have a binge or free or whatever that behavior is in your eating disorder, each day you don't have those behaviors, you consider a day winning. So for example, if you're struggling with bulimia, a day that you didn't binge and purge would be considered a day winning. So each day that you've not engaged in the behavior is a day winning. So maybe, day 1, no binging purge behaviors, that's 1. Then the next day, again, no behaviors, day 2. On the third day, maybe you purged, right? That doesn't mean you go back to 0. You just stay at 2 days. And then the next day you have another day of no behaviors to go to day 3. And this is because I see so many people who will engage in some kind of a behavior and then send themselves all the way back to 0, erasing all of that progress they've made mentally and making them feel like they have failed. And like I said, recovery is such a process. It is not linear. So equipping yourself with lots of tools that work with your brain, that work with your biology, is going to be so instrumental and so super, super, super important. So that is something that I highly recommend that you do. Another tool that I can just give you and kind of insert into this is finding your why. Why do you want to recover? Why is full recovery important to you? What would happen in 5 years if nothing changed? So take a piece of paper, write out, in 5 years, if nothing changes, like if you continue on in these behaviors, what will my life look like? How will your work look? How will relationships, your bank account, your career, everything, like really walk through in detail how you'll feel, what your life will look like if you continue engaging in these eating disorder behaviors. On the other side of the piece of paper, write the sentence, in 5 years, if I am recovered and, I'm no longer engaging in behaviors, like fully recovered, what will my life look like? And then see kind of what that looks like. This can really help you to start to ground in your why, the reasons why you're doing this, because it's not going to be easy. Having, again, gone through this, someone who struggled with bulimia for over 10 years, and as well as anorexia, orthorexia, extreme dieting, and really everything in between, I get it. And it's not easy. And so having lots of tools and knowing your why is so important, is so incredibly vital to support yourself in those moments. All right. And my fourth tip I can give to you is to get support. And it can really help to get support from someone who gets it. So I talk a lot about my work about nervous system regulation. So we talk about co-regulation, how when your nervous system basically feels safe with someone else, someone who gets it. Eating disorders, like I mentioned, they thrive in shame and secrecy, right? I laugh because I remember one time, and I think I've told this on my channel before, I was at home visiting my mom for the weekend when I was living in Montreal. And I told her when she would go up to bed for the night, I said, I'm going to tell you tonight that I'm just going to finish this episode and then I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to be lying. I'm going to be straight up lying to your face because I'm going to go and binge and purge. And she was like, so I'm like, don't force me to come up to bed with you so I don't do that. She's like, okay. And then sure enough, that night she goes upstairs to go to bed. She's asked me if I'm coming. And I said, I'm just going to finish this episode and then I'll be right up. Okay. She goes, like, you become a different person, right? It thrives in the shame and the secrecy. And of course I went and I binged and I purged. And then the next morning I said, why did you let me do that? Your brain is not really your own. It's been hijacked. It's really been taken over by your eating disorder. So they thrive in the shame and the secrecy. So working with someone and getting support who understands and who has been where you've been, right? When we're sharing, then that eating disorder has nowhere to hide, right? Someone who truly gets it, who makes you go up the stairs at night, instead of engaging in those behaviors. And like I said, someone who has been there, so there's no shame. I know when I was working with psychologists and therapists, there was this weird power dynamic where I felt like they didn't truly understand me, and I felt even a little bit judged, which again just compounds on the shame, which is what eating disorders thrive on. So I invite you to get support from someone who needs it. I'm obviously happy to support you, and the link is below. But if it's someone else, then amazing. You have to find, what person, what support system looks best for you. But to fully recover, because your brain right now, if you're trying to recover, it's not completely your own, right? Like an eating disorder is an illness of the mind. It's like a mental illness. You are not seeing and experiencing and making choices as you truly are. And so getting support and having someone kind of shine a light on things and give you some perspective and understanding and tools and support is so incredibly important and empowering and healing, right? We really lean into that kind of empathetic accountability and are able to heal in that way. So that's my fourth tip. And my fifth one is that you can't trick your biology. I was convinced for years that I could just stop the purging. I could just stop doing that part and keep the rest of it, keep the abs, keep the certain body size, keep myself really small and kind of malnourished, even though my hair was falling out, lost my period, it was a total mess. But I was convinced that I just needed to figure out some kind of a strategy to not engage in those behaviors without truly, working through recovery. So if you are trying to kind of trick your way through recovery, you're trying to cheat your way through not eating enough food, or by eating enough but then forcing yourself to do these like crazy exercises to kind of burn it off, or whatever that is, you can't trick your own biology. This maybe will work in the short term, it'll be a little band-aid effect, but it's ultimately not going to allow you to fully heal and fully recover. And you are just going to be stalling your recovery if you are trying to trick yourself into thinking, oh, I don't actually need that much food. Or, oh, I'll just go on this like super big intense workout or a long run to like burn all that off, right? So being aware and almost like imagining if me or someone else who works with people in recovery was kind of like a fly on the wall, what would they think of your behaviors? Would you find yourself trying to justify all the things you're doing? Or do you actually feel quite confident that this is supportive and this is helping you to fully recover? So my last tip is you can't trick your biology. Getting super radically honest. How are you supporting yourself? Is that really the support that you need? Are you trying to, engage in behaviors to keep your body a certain size and not really nourish your needs and all those different types of things? And again, sometimes it helps to actually have that fly on the wall and having that support. So I always offer my clients unlimited between call support. So you can text me literally any time of day and I can be that fly on the wall and support you and hold you accountable and hold your hand through the entire thing. Because let's be honest, recovery is tough. Like I said, full recovery is difficult, and having that support, again, whether it be me, which I'm more than happy to, or someone else, but getting the support you need is absolutely critical and crucial. So thank you so much for listening and for your support. I have a new video coming out every single week, so be sure to hit the subscribe button and you'll be getting lots more content, and as well the link below if you'd like to book in a free chat and learn more about how I can help support you. All right, thanks so much, and I will see you soon.